if it's a newer government college versus if it is a private college?
I'm getting the best government medical college in possibly my state. Will I still look at a private institution? But a very high fee.
I think like 99.9% of the cases they would not.
Correct. But is there some reason for me to look at a private institution? There are.
Every single seat goes through the counseling process. Right?
Everything is an online process.
Right.
Suggest no one to fall for that.
Right.
At least you connect to the institute will tell you that this is the process.
So we have been doing a lot of videos for NEET candidates, for NEET PG as well as NEET UG for many years. And now we have started this podcast style. So this podcast style is something we have been thinking of exploring for a long time. So finally we have started this podcast style. So I'm really excited about that. Okay, so I think the lot of parents or students, especially NEET UG students who have completed their 12th or will complete this year, or their parents, they might not know who you are. Okay, so can you introduce yourself and we can start from there.
So I'm Ashok. I've been helping out candidates with counseling for around 11 years now. So, I, along with my co-founder, we run this organization called ZyNerd, which is possibly one of the first to be in the space of counseling guidance in India in a very professional and comprehensive manner. So, that is what we are. We provide guidance for NEET UG, NEET PG candidates. Basically, after they complete their exams, we help them out with complete information on how to manage the counseling, what are the possibilities for them in the counseling, and what is the best approach or strategy for the counseling process.
Okay, since you have spoken about ZyNerd, let's say individual counselor. Most of the general approach for parents and candidates, it's go to a general counselor or individual counselor where they get personalized guidance.
Right.
How is ZyNerd different from it?
Currently, if you look at the MBBS landscape, most of the parents see information which is region specific or possibly what they know of from somebody nearby or a counselor nearby who has limited information with respect to a particular region or a state. We do that across India. So we have complete information on all the possibilities across India. So that is something that really helps the candidate to take decisions when they have more information in terms of what are the possibilities and the approach towards the counseling. And the second thing is we do it online through a model where we follow a model where there is a lot of information that helps them take decisions. They can log into the portal and get information on their app and instantly take decisions, and that level of information is available in the app. We provide call support and email support for the candidates, and this helps them in getting a guidance from a subject matter expert who will handhold them throughout the counseling process. The difference being, one of the other major differences being that the cost that is involved. Usually when you go to a counselor, you pay 10 times what we provide for the services what we provide at. And we provide it comprehensively, so it helps the candidates to take right decisions, possibly at the right cost, at an affordable cost. So that is what we provide to most of the candidates.
And I think this is a very unique approach, right? Because a lot of individual candidates, it's either they do it through a call or they meet, but they haven't involved tech inside the counseling. I think ZyNerd is probably one of the pioneers to involve tech bring tech into the counseling process.
The usual approach is that the counselor guides them, and most of the decisions are also taken by the counselor because the information is does not flow to the candidate. But you are confident when you have the information, right? So with tech, with the apps today, when we are able to reach out to the individual and give them as much information as possible, a conversation is obviously far better. They know the information, we also have the information and expertise. We discuss and then decide. That is when the conversation and decisions are far better, rather than leaving it to someone, just paying them the money and then leaving it to someone to take your decisions where you have limited information. Here we provide them an option to explore the entire information. They possibly have 2 to 3 months during the counseling process. They would have spent years preparing for NEET UG and then getting into the counseling process, but they still just have around 2 to 3 months During those 3 months, how can we make it better for them in terms of information being available at a minimal time, that within the minimal time that they have. That is what we are trying to provide, and that helps really. With technology, we are able to achieve it.
So this seems actually a lot of effort is going into it. So before we go into the counseling process, a lot of them might not know about you. So if you can tell, you can speak about ZyNerd a little bit, and why you came up with ZyNerd. How did the idea of ZyNerd start?
So it was purely accidental. So it was not planned. I am no way into the medical education sector. I'm an engineer who has been in HR for around 13-14 years. So my wife is a doctor, and around 11 years back, she was planning to get into a PG. She did her examinations, and post examinations, the next possible step is to look at the admission process and what are the possibilities, etc. So I have been in data for some time with my earlier organizations into analytics, etc. So I started looking at information that was available. They were at that point in time, we did not have our apps, technology, and so we had a few forums, basic threads, and where people used to come and discuss, and there used to be one or two doctors, senior doctors, who helped them out with information. So I started going to the forums, and saw that even for them there was one challenge, which was how to get data translated into something that was useful for everyone. So since I did it for my wife, I did it extensively, trying to figure out what are the options, what might be the possibilities. And when I go into the counseling, at that point in time, counseling used to be physical. So it is not like you had a lot of time for choices. You go into the counseling process, you are called rank by rank. You go in and you'll have to decide at that point on what are the possibilities based on the possibilities that exist. So you had to be well prepared, because an instant decision had to be taken. You cannot go back. So we analyzed everything, and fortunately that information was really helpful for her. And I also shared it with everyone in the groups, in the forums, because it was helpful for her. I thought it will be helpful for others too, and then I shared it. Some of those senior doctors were really appreciative at that point in time. They thought that this really helped many of the candidates, and they wanted me to respond in the forums, as in on queries of the candidates. So I started responding on the forums, and since it was really helpful, I started doing it continuously year on year. So from 2014 onwards, I've been doing it in forums, and later in Facebook groups. When Facebook groups started, there were a lot of Facebook groups for counseling guidance, etc., which was run by doctors. So two of these doctors, Dr. Arul and Dr. Bhuvan, they actually were big inspiration, because they actually were spending most of their time in helping out candidates. Basically, they were postgraduates, but they were spending most of their time in helping out candidates, and they used to continuously tell me that this is really helpful, keep doing it. So when Facebook group started, I started working with some of the Facebook groups, and I was doing it pro bono during my free time. So I used to spend around 5-6 hours on a daily basis during the admission process, around 5 to 6 months, and help out candidates with information. So at some point in time, my data rather was used across India for all India and some state counselings, 1 or 2 state counselings. All the queries would be answered. Then I got into rules, regulations, etc. There are a lot of queries on rules, regulations, and what happens, strategy towards counseling. So started helping that way. Around 2020, I realized that just PDFs or data might not be the right approach if I have to, one, in terms of my time put in, and second, also in terms of how they receive the data, candidates receive the data, and how they are able to use the data. So during a casual conversation with Anto, and who's my co-founder now, so we discussed on how technology can be used towards building a platform for them. So we piloted it around 2021. We spent around 3 months on defining everything as a data portal.
So it was like 6 years of you were doing pro bono,
Correct.
you were supporting
Almost
candidates.
6-7 years.
And then the 7th year, you slowly transitioned.
Yeah. So the initial idea was that it was not to get into ZyNerd or something commercial. We thought it would not scale up to a large extent. We thought it, as against spending a lot of time, which is my time, their time, and what can we use technology kind of a thing. But once we got into it and piloted it, there was a huge response. So the first year, it was in 2021, We piloted it when this counseling started for the 2021 admissions, around 2022 beginning. It was
the COVID time.
During the COVID time. It was delayed by around 8 months. Everybody was frustrated at that point in time because it was delayed, and they were going to join in the next academic year.
Yeah.
We piloted it, and there was tremendous response because for them it was very simple to know the possibilities, to know which institutes exist across India, because there was no central data source at that point in time.
Right.
So post that, we thought maybe if we are going to do it better, we make it something that we are really passionate about. If you're going to do it better, we make it possibly a proper technology-based platform. And then that is where ZyNerd was born. We started looking at ZyNerd as a startup, and then we went ahead and started ZyNerd.
So officially it started in 2020.
2022 is when we started, and we registered, and we started as a startup, and we offered subscription-based offerings from 2022 onwards.
Right. Okay, that's good. So you were talking about the ZyNerd and how it helps candidates, right? So right now we are helping candidates for the NEET UG, NEET PG. What other services are we?
So currently we are into medical. We are into NEET UG for candidates who complete their +2 or 12th standard. If they are intending to move into MBBS or BDS or even Ayush courses, they write the NEET UG exam. So we are into NEET UG primarily for MBBS and BDS at this point in time. We support them in the counseling process, and then we are also into NEET PG, where we support those who have completed MBBS, doctors who have completed MBBS who get into post-graduation. For NEET super specialty, we provide the data, but not on a subscription basis, but we help them out with the data for counseling process.
So I'll tell you my experience with the counseling process. So when I finished my 12th standard, I wanted to join engineering. And then there was a counseling process which was conducted by the Anna University. That's my first experience with counseling. So we had to go to Anna University, travel to Chennai, stay there for one day and attend the counseling process and finally get the seat allotment. So that is a physical type of counseling, right? But now the latest NEET counseling is conducted online.
Correct.
That is the process. So if you can tell us about the history of the NEET counseling, or you can even start with what counseling is. A lot of people might not know what counseling is. So if you can start with that, and then we can segue into the history of the counseling.
Okay, so before even we get into the counseling process, what drives it is the exams, basically. What is a entrance examination or the qualifying examination for getting into admissions? That is what drives the entire thing.
Right.
So we'll get into the history of exams for medical. So that is very interesting to actually. All the medical colleges belong to usually a particular state or the central government. They are in a particular state, located in a state or the central government. So till around 70s, 1970s, etc., we had the Indian Medical Council Act, under which medical colleges are regulated. But the medical colleges still were with the state government. And there was one or two central government institutes, AIIMS, etc., JIPMER, central institutes. So these medical colleges, in these medical colleges, the admissions used to happen through the state for the state candidates. So till around 1970s, and not many would know this, I believe, till around 1970s, all the seats were with the state, and the state used to admit all candidates within the state.
So 100% of the seats?
All medical colleges within the state, the admission process happened through the state. Now, there have been a lot of reforms beyond that timeline, and one of the first cases that came up was an interesting case in Tamil Nadu. So what happened is these exams, these medical colleges were in a particular region. Some medical colleges were in Chennai, some medical colleges were in a periphery in the state, for that region public, etc. So only those candidates within that particular region, let us say there is a medical college in a district, the surrounding 5 districts, only those candidates or students were allowed to participate in the counseling process for that district medical college.
Okay.
In case I am a high ranked candidate, highly meritorious candidate, even though I am highly meritorious in the state, I couldn't get a seat in the medical college in Tamil Nadu. It was in Madras state at that point in time. In Madras, because I belong to a different region. So this was challenged. This was the first challenge towards how admissions should happen in medical colleges. So this was challenged by a candidate saying that I am highly meritorious, but these medical colleges are the restriction of admissions for that particular region is an issue. So this was challenged, and then it went on to become a common system of admissions in states. The state had to do a proper system of admission, basis the rank of the candidate or the merit of the candidate within that state. So still the seats were with the state, but the medical college admissions were regulated, saying that there was not supposed to be a distinction between regions within a state. Right. So this was the first step. Post that, in around 1984-85, around that timeline, there were cases filed saying, can we extend this? As in, basically, this is a state which has seats. Why is it state specific? Is there a domicile concept in India? So should it be state specific, or all the medical seats should be available for everyone across India? So there is no specific definition of domicile anywhere else in the constitution. So that was the crux of the case in itself. Okay. So domicile is defined as domicile of India. There is no residence or domicile defined anywhere in the constitution. So how do you attribute these seats to a particular state and not take it on an all India level or a central level? Everybody should be eligible for every seat across every medical college in India was the contention in the case. Okay. So there had to be a balance. So the actual verdict that came up, or the judgment that came up, mentioned that a percentage of seats need to be still reserved for the state, because those who are in backward areas of the state, who will come back, become doctors and help out those people in the backward areas should still continue to exist. Otherwise, if everything is not necessarily by merit across India, there will possibly be a lack of, there will be possibly an issue in providing healthcare services in every nook and corner across India. Okay. So that is one of the reasons why the Supreme Court suggested that a percentage of seats can go into all India level. Now, they suggested 30% initially, and in 1986 they suggested amongst the MBBS seats, 15% can be taken at an all India level. Every candidate across India will be eligible without any restriction of a state residence or domicile, and the rest will belong to the state. The state will conduct this process. Now, once this happens, the first question that comes up is, till now the state was admitting candidates, correct? Right. You are admitting in one state, you are admitting in another state, kind of. Now, once this happened, there was a necessity of two things. One, there is a central examination that needs to be conducted. Correct? Because there are 15% of seats at an all India level. Then the states also had to conduct an exam. So the states continued with their examinations pattern, either an entrance examination, 12th mark based admissions, etc. So they continued to do that. At a central level, the CBSE was asked to conduct an examination, which we usually call as All India Pre-Medical Test or All India Entrance Test for MBBS, etc.
Before the NEET came.
Correct. This is far before the NEET, 1986 times. So they started with that entrance examination at an All India level. Now, once the examination happens, there is a body that needs to work on running the admission process, right? 15% is given. Let us say there are 2,000 seats. Somebody has to get people admitted into the seats at a central level. Right. So this was done by the ministry at that point in time, and till around 1993, where there were cases, and this continued to be run by the central ministry through a physical counselling process. So this continued to happen. All India had 15%, states had 85%.
And this is only government seats?
This is purely government seats. What we're talking about is government seats and possibly municipal corporations, state government body seats. Okay. The private seats are separate. We'll come to that later. Okay. Private, deemed universities, etc. are a completely different nature. This is a part of the government seats which the government contributes and files. Now, this happened, and till around 2010, this was the process. There was an examination at the central level. Each state conducted their own examination. Some states followed a process of taking up only +2 marks or a different methodology to rank the candidates on merit for their admission process. 2010, the government introduced NEET as an amendment to the Indian Medical Council Act. So NEET was first introduced as an amendment in 2010. And from 2013, the government planned to implement NEET. Right. 2013 was the first year when NEET also happened. Immediately, there were challenges on 2 counts. One, in terms of whether Medical Council was had the right constitutional framework, under the constitutional framework, whether they can conduct NEET as a central examination. Second, the autonomy of the states were also brought into question, and this was a case filed by CMC, Vellore, and a lot of other organizations, trusts, etc. were towards taking away their right as a minority institution, as a state institution, on conducting an exam on their own. So the base for this was basically your education is a concurrent subject since the last many years, 40 years or so. And so now can you take away the autonomy of the state or an institution to run an admission process of their own?
Right.
So from 2013 onwards, states continue to do their own process of examination. All India was through the All India pre-medical test for the 15%.
Okay.
Till 2016, this continued. But in 2016 was when the major change happened. There was a review petition filed on that judgment.
Okay.
And then what happened is the validity of NEET was upheld by the Supreme Court.
Okay.
So once Supreme Court said that the NEET was valid, still states continue to challenge it with their own bills and opposed it, etc. But they were provided a 1-year relaxation. Some of the states which couldn't take NEET for that particular year. But from 2017, it has been NEET. For UG, PG, super speciality, it has been re-NEET right from that point in time.
Right.
And it governs every medical admission across India as far as UG is concerned today.
Right.
So MBBS and BDS and Ayush as well today. So that is a background for the examination. Now, where does counseling come in? Correct. So counseling is a process which comes in after the examination. So when you look for counseling, possibly you said that you went on to a physical counseling process, right?
Correct.
How difficult was it?
So we had to wait in a long line.
Okay.
So a lot of candidates were waiting.
Okay.
So we had to go into the hall one by one.
Did you have...
Then there was a monitor. So the number of seats that were remaining was displayed.
Correct.
So when, so sometimes what happens is the person before us, they would take a seat and that seat would disappear off the monitor.
Correct.
So something like that happens. So that was something new for me. I had no idea. And when I approached the counseling, a friend of mine, he had taken a management seat in the same college. So he said, hey, I've already got a seat there. So I said, okay, I know someone there. That was a very...
So friends, neighbors, that is how it is.
There was no thinking behind it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So see, similarly, counseling used to happen as a physical counseling process till around 2012. So all India seats, 15%. If you want to get a seat in the medical college through All India Quota, what it is called, you had to travel to somewhere in Delhi,
Okay.
go there, get a seat.
So there was one place. It was
One
conducted
place,
at one place. Okay.
So you had to physically travel there and get a seat. And then once you get that seat, let us say you have options in your state too. You're eligible for your state too, right? The same candidate, because All India is on a central basis, they're eligible for All India.
Right.
State, they are eligible because they are domiciled, they studied in the state or based on the state criteria. You come to the state, you get a better seat, then you will have to get relieved of that seat, come back to the state seat, attending a physical counseling here, come back to the state seat. Now, this person leaves the seat in All India counseling, correct? The seat is vacant. Somebody has to fill the seat.
Right.
So, there might be a candidate who is a lower ranker who should have got the seat but did not get because of the sequence of the process. First All India happened and then state.
Correct.
Now, there is another process that happens, a second round that happens. So, that person who went on to the counseling process in the first round got a better, lesser preferred seat, now has an option for a good seat because this candidate left the seat. He has to travel again to that particular place, go there, get the seat, and then get admitted into that particular process. So this was a process which took a lot of time, obviously. There were a lot of delays in both the All India process and the state counseling process. Schedules cannot should happen in tandem, but they did not happen. All India would be over first, state would be over later, etc. Each state had their own process. So that is when in 2012, till then there were a lot of cases on, I have been disadvantaged because of a process not being right. I am a meritorious candidate. I should have got the seat, but because of your process, I am unable to get the best seat. So in 2012, the Supreme Court said, that is the first time the Supreme Court said, why can't we conduct it online and ask for a proposal from the Directorate General of Health Services. DGHS is a body under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. They started this process and DGHS gave them an option, a proposal saying this is how we can conduct it. Along with the National Informatics Center, they created a process and said that we can do it online. So as against traveling, the process will remain the same. All India will happen separately, states will happen separately. As against traveling for All India counseling, we can ask them to fill choices. Let us say you are asked to fill choices. I know that this is my preference order. All I have to tell them is fill in your choices and say that this is what I want. If I don't get this, give me the next best seat. You can fill in your choices and then Based on the choices, you will be allotted a seat. You don't have to travel. You can go get admitted. So that is the first step towards online counseling. And once this started, states also started following online counselings. They knew that it is not only for the candidates, even for the state to conduct processes like that, it is a huge challenge. Getting in 2,000 candidates at the same place, running it one by one, it is a huge challenge.
And financially also, right?
Financially, everybody gets impacted. So basically, online process simplifies the entire flow of the counseling. So they went ahead and states also started following the online process. This kept happening, but still there were improvements that were required because the counseling timelines also made a difference. So there were cases on the rounds, number of rounds the counseling should happen.
Right.
So you can't keep them going on indefinitely. Like one person gets allotted, the person doesn't join. Then there is a vacancy. This can keep happening till the end. Even if you have 20 rounds, it will keep happening. So how do you put an end to it? So there were processes saying that once All India quota 2 rounds or 3 rounds were over, you get those seats back into the state counselling, etc. and all. And additional institutes also, initially it was only for government institutes. So in 2017, since central counselling happened for All India quota seats, which are all government seats, in the Ruslam case, the Supreme Court mentioned that deemed universities are also of central nature, not private institutes. Deemed universities are also of central nature. They are conducting their admissions on their own. You go to a deemed university, you will be able to get a seat at that point in time. You would know that.
Right.
So why don't we make it central to make it proper rank-based or merit-based? So they went ahead and these seats were included in the All India counselling process. So now every deemed university seat comes under the All India counselling process. Along with the government seats, they are also filled. Similarly, AIIMS and JIPMER seats, which were outside the process, they are in institutes of national importance. They were also brought into the counselling process in 2019. Now, almost every medical seat is through an online counselling process. That is the Supreme Court's direction. And there are no direct admissions, which is a major change that has happened over the years. So once NEET started, this has become a little easier to implement as a process. So we're not talking about the examination and the impact of the examination. As a process, it is easier to implement. That is because there is a single ranking system across. But the counseling process, we should understand, is distinct from the exam process. We can still conduct 2 separate exams or whatever and run the counseling process in the same manner.
Right. So we have seen a progression of this counseling. Initially, it was physical counseling and multiple counselings happened. And now there is All India counselling and there are multiple state counselings, as you said. And I think last year there were some news saying that it could become one single counselling.
Yeah,
is that a possibility? Is that something that...
I'm not sure whether it is a possibility. See, on paper, it looks really good. Because 2023, I think around last year, they put up a proposal, the DGHS or ministry put up a proposal saying we'll conduct a common counselling for all the seats. So they said surrender all the seats. Basically, states have their states 85%, center has their 15%. Every state, let us say there are 42 different counsellings already happening within the states. Give us all the seats. We will conduct a single counselling because it is a challenge running one round in All India. Each state runs their round 1, another round in All India. Each state runs their round 2. So that process is like in total, if you look at it today, I think possibly around 120 rounds of counselling put together. That might happen, 120, 130 rounds of counselling in a 3-month window. So instead of doing that, give it to us, give all the seats to us. We will run the counselling, 4 rounds. We will get one choice list from everyone. If somebody doesn't accept, the vacancies move over to the next round.
Correct.
But the challenge in this is twofold. One, the challenge that they faced primarily is from the states. Already there is an issue with respect to NEET, we know that, right? With respect to whether the state autonomy is taken away because of NEET. And this also takes away the process from the state, the entire process. So that was a challenge that they faced. The state still wanted to run the process themselves possibly because of the dynamics too, on what the state is implementing, etc.
Correct.
Each state, if we understand, has a separate reservation policy, a separate process for allocation of seats. The split of seats is also different. One state might have a separate quota, another state might have a different quota.
Correct.
So every time you run a counselling, unlike All India, which is completely domicile free, you have to check whether every candidate falls under the eligibility criteria. This is through certificates, you have to upload your data, somebody has to check and then give you a rank, and all your eligibility has to be defined.
Correct.
This is a 15-20 day process for each state. Now, when we are combining it across at a central level, right, there are bound to be a lot of issues.
Yeah.
If it happens 100% perfectly, it will be beautiful for the candidates because they don't have to put in a lot of effort. But obviously, the state's contention is that it is extremely difficult to implement it, which is also practically what we think is right, because it is extremely difficult to implement something of this big nature. 1 lakh seats being done in a single counseling process with all the complete rules and regulations and the policies of each state followed. It is very difficult. It is a very challenging one, possibly something that if it happens kind of a thing, it will be good. It is going to be a big challenge. If it comes up to, because of the nature of this, there will definitely be flaws in the initial few years. So that I don't think they will go ahead again. I don't think they will take the next step again, at least for the reason that states will never agree to it. So
Right. So this year we can be confident it's going to be all India, and then this
for the next few years.
Next few years at least. So no need to worry about
next few years. Possibly, I don't think that it will even come up again.
Okay.
At least for the next few years, we can definitely be confident that it is going to be the same process, understand the same process and go.
Okay, perfect. So you had mentioned about deemed colleges.
Correct.
And then there is private colleges.
Correct.
And you had also mentioned institutes of national importance. So there are these types of medical colleges.
Correct.
So there might be candidates or parents who don't know about these. So if you can explain about the types of medical colleges, can you give a brief outline of?
Correct. So primarily, all that we know of when we actually discuss with candidates at the first stage. So all that we discuss initially is that there are government colleges and there are private colleges. That is our start point of discussion, right? When we discuss at all, we know government colleges. When we think about government colleges, primary thing that comes to our mind is some of the colleges are really good, old medical colleges who have a lot of patients coming in, and the teaching is really good because they have been established long time back. And some of them are new medical colleges, government medical colleges, but a very big factor comes into play, which is the fee structure, correct?
Right.
So when we think about government colleges, we know that the fee structure is lesser. Even though in some it is higher, the fee structure is less. So we obviously would want to get into a good government medical college. That is our primary motive. Second, we have the private colleges, correct? So private colleges are also considered as those colleges which are not government. In our mind, whenever we talk to a candidate or a parent, they say anything which is not government is a private medical college. So here, you're aware of AIIMS, right? AIIMS is the best institution across the country. AIIMS Delhi is the best institution across the country. It is a government institution. We know that it is a government institution. But within the government itself, there are 2-3 different set of institutes. One is the primary ones which are state government institutes. 400 plus institutes are there, state government institutes.
State government institutes.
Which are run by the state. So let us say that we take the state of Maharashtra, there is a St. GS Medical College run by the state, funded by the state, everything is run by the state, appointments by the state, admissions 85% by the state and 15% by AIQ. Second, there are central government run medical colleges. So these central government run medical colleges are Banaras Hindu University, Aligarh Muslim University. They are central universities funded under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. They are funded. They are managed by the center. So a center can start an institution at any location across India, obviously. So those are central institutions. Then you have the institutions which are institutions of national importance. They are also under the purview of the center, but they are through separate act. Like the AIIMS institutions and JIPMER. Today, the MBBS offering institutes are AIIMS and JIPMER. There are around 20 AIIMS offering courses now. And JIPMER Puducherry, which has 2 campuses, Karaikal. These are institutes of national importance which are by the Act. So within this itself, there are 3 buckets. But the differentiation is not very relevant here. Basically, it does not carry much of significance for MBBS seats. In the sense, whether I'm getting into a state government medical college or a central government institution or AIIMS, only has to do with the institution, not the tag of whether it is a state government or not. AIIMS Delhi is the best institution across India, but there might be a AIIMS which is a new AIIMS.
Correct.
Which is possibly very low in ranking compared to the best institutions of each state. Like Madras Medical College, or you take St. GS, or you take Bangalore Medical College. Those are far better institutions than the institution of national importance, which is possibly the newest one in that category.
So the general logic is that the older the institute, the better.
Usually that is the logic. Very rarely you will find some institution which is not a direct correlation, but it is not that it has been 200 years, so that is the best institution. But something which is 50 plus years old, etc., is bound to be a good institution because of the practices. That has nothing to do with this tag of INI, etc. So INA or state government, central government, all these are of equal nature. But when you look at private, first thing that comes to your mind when you look at private, think of private as a fee, right? What is a fee?
Usually it is.
What is a fee? Whether it is affordable for me, will I get it? These are the questions that come in. When does this come in? I've completed my exam. So when will this question come in?
When they are approaching the counseling.
Correct. But why does it come in? As in,
because they'll have to plan they have to pay the fees, right? They have to plan their finances.
So from a candidate perspective, first time this comes in when they are not sure about the government seat. Usually, correct? So that is what I was trying to dive. See, I am not sure about a government seat. Either I am actually on the border of getting a government seat, or the other part is it only regarding affordability? I'll put a question because this is very interesting. So I'm not able to get a government seat. I'm able to get a government seat. Will those candidates look at private institutes?
There could be some reasons.
Why? Why would I get a good government seat? Why would I look at a private institute?
But like you said, right? Not all government seats, not all government colleges are equal. There are, if it's a newer government college, versus if it is a private college, then they'll have to take a...
So that is purely an institute-based decision. This institute is better, but the question comes in on what is the fee, whether it is affordable for me, how good is the private institute, etc. I'm getting the best government medical college in possibly my state. Will I still look at a private institution at a very high fee?
I think like 99.9% of the cases, they would not.
Correct. But is there some reason for me to look at a private institution? There are. For instance, a private institution in our mind is purely, when we think of a private institution, we consider the fee, and therefore government versus private is a question that we come under. Comes, correct?
Yes.
Fee basis or possibly quality basis. But when it comes to quality of the institution, CMC is a private institution. Christian Medical College, Vellore is a private institution.
Christian Medical College, Vellore. Okay.
So it is possibly the third best institution or fourth best institution across the country. Today in every ranking you see, it will be the third best institution across the country. It is better than all the best medical colleges, state best medical colleges in rankings across the country. So now CMC Vellore has a very low fee structure. I'm not sure how many know this, but many miss out this institution thinking that it is a private institute, even though it is a world-class institution which exists, the top third institution across India. There is another part to it. There are other medical colleges. Kasturba Medical College is an excellent deemed university. I'm getting a tier 2 or a second level institute in my state, but I'm ready to spend these many lakhs because it is affordable for me. Candidates, even though they get a better government government institution, since Kasturba is far better than that, and the fee is affordable for me, for a slight better quality, there are still many candidates who go into private institutions. So these private institutes are divided into two. So we'll just explain that.
Before we go, you had already touched upon the fee structure, right? Can you give a fee range for government? You had mentioned private and also deemed.
Correct. So government institutes are very low, are funded, basically funded, and there is a lot of subsidy that goes into it. So obviously government institutes, there are government institutes at zero fee. Other than the hostel fee, which is possibly 1,000 rupees per month, you don't need to pay anything. There are certain states where the government fee is almost nil. To the extent of even 1 lakh, 1.5 lakhs, there are institutions which take up a fee. So for some it is affordable. ESI institutions, for instance, there is a huge fee. And so similarly, there is a higher fee structure government. There are higher fee structure government institutions, but most of them are in the range of 10,000 to 20,000, 30,000. Affordable for everyone. That is how government institutions are. Very rarely you will see in certain states like Rajasthan, there are NRI seats within government institutions. So within government, so that might be a little higher, but your regular merit-based government seats are very less. But private institutes fee range is huge. So this is an official fee, as in what we are talking about is not some hidden fee or additional fee that they get against the rule. Even
Right.
the official fee structures start from around 7 lakhs for a private institute.
Right.
In certain government quotas, 3 lakhs onwards, but 7 lakhs for a private institute, till to even 1 crore for a seat, which is properly defined as per the regulatory authority, which they can fix and get it on paper.
This is 1 crore per year. Per annum.
Yeah, per year, correct.
Okay.
So even to that extent, it is a regulated fee. So when we say 1 crore, it is not like I go into an institution like earlier times, I get it by paying the highest amount. It's
Right.
a regulated fee. So even to that extent, there are seats which are there in private institutes. Now, how the fee is determined is a question, but that depends upon whether it is private, deemed, etc. So private is basically two. One is you have state level private institutes. State level private institutes is under the state. All the counseling happens through the state. The entire set of seats are by the state. They come under a state university, either a state private university or a state government university. So within the state itself, you will have 10 institutes which are state private institutes and another 10 which are deemed universities. Deemed universities are completely central in nature. So they are their own university. The state private institute will have their examinations by the university. The degree will be awarded by the state
By
university.
the university.
Deemed universities will run their own examinations. They are deemed to be universities by UGC. They'll run their own examinations and award their own degrees. They have that autonomy. They do not come under the state purview at all. So deemed universities today can fix their own fee. Even though NMC Act says that they will fix 50%, that is under the Supreme Court case, but deemed universities today can fix their own fee. There is no regulatory authority which fixes the fee of deemed universities. So once you are a state private university, after a few years you become a deemed university, the biggest advantage in terms of what they are looking for possibly is
the
fee fixation. You don't fall under regulatory authority of the state. You can fix your own fee. And today there is no legal limitation on fixing whatever fee you want. So possibly the 1 crore will go up higher if this continues.
Right. So this really high fee structure is usually the deemed colleges.
No, even state private institutes. In some cases, when there are deemed universities, usually there is a high fee. There is because it is not under any authority. But private institutes also have a high fee. What has to happen in a state is when there are 50 private institutes in a 15 private institutes in a state, let us say, the state has to form a body under a retired high court judge and regulate the fee.
Okay.
It is supposed to be a not-for-profit organization. Any medical college is supposed to be a not-for-profit organization. So they are supposed to get the fee exactly to be zero profit. That is the idea behind the entire framework. Now, so they are supposed to submit their bills, financials, etc. And the state fee regulatory authority is supposed to come with a number saying, so if this is the fee you take from candidates, for these set of seats you take this fee, for this set of seats you take this fee, then it will be zero profit. So every state, the fee regulatory authority tries to come up with a number. But there are state private universities. So basically we are talking about within private there is a distinction of one institutes. Second, private universities, which means the university itself is a private university under the State Act. Still under the state.
Okay.
But university is a private university. So for instance, we have SDM in Karnataka, which is a state private university. They can fix their own fee. They do not fall under this regulatory framework of fee regulation committee, etc.
Okay, so they are more
deemed, similar to deemed, but only thing is they are under the
state. So from what you have said, understanding is that there is private colleges and deemed colleges. So the private colleges, they come under the state authority.
Correct.
And deemed colleges are more central in nature.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah. Deemed colleges are central in nature. Private colleges come under the state. Okay. So a reflection of that is in the counselling too. Correct. So what should we do for deemed? Deemed, everything is under All India Counselling.
Right.
State, all come under state. So all the state private institute seats, without any split, they come under the state counselling.
And the private institutes which come under the state, there are two types. There is the state private and state private
universities, which come under the state university and which come under the state government university, and those that come under the state private university, which is usually their university itself is what they come under. Okay. So that distinction also reflects in the process of counselling, in the fee structure, how much autonomy the state has, the institute has, etc. So it is far big. We can discuss that for 1 hour kind of.
Yeah, so So these are the types of colleges.
Correct.
Right. And you had given a clue here saying that the authority where these colleges come under, that determines how the counseling happens.
Okay.
So can we talk about the counseling? Counseling. We have already spoken about All India Counselling, State Counselling. Can you explain about how that is structured?
Okay, so right now, like we discussed, we have government institutes, correct?
Right.
So the reason for a central counselling was, like we discussed, there is a 15% All India quota. Somebody has to run the counselling. Currently, DGHS is running the counselling. So when DGHS has to run the counselling, it runs it for all the 15% All India quota seats. Everybody is eligible for that. They also run the counselling for deemed university seats, which are of central nature, right? Correct. So these two come under the central part. Correct. Beyond this, you also have ESI institutes which are there, correct?
ESI as in, what is ESI?
ESI is Employee State Insurance Corporation, which is a corporation for providing health benefits to those who are below a particular wage limit. Anybody who is working below a particular wages, they are members of this corporation. They pay a premium, and there are hospitals for that. They run medical colleges, around 11 medical colleges across India. So those seats are also similar to central nature. So a percentage of those seats also go into All India Counselling. So if you're an insured person, you are a member, you are paying a premium, you also get a certain quota of seats within those colleges. So that is also run by the central counselling body. And beyond this, you have some central universities, DU, AMU, BHU, etc. Those seats which are for those Delhi candidates, etc. Because those are run by the central government, those are also added. Those are not available for everyone. Other than the AAQ seats, there are some seats which are run. So this complete set of seats, the counselling is executed by the Medical Counselling Committee, which comes under the Director General Health Services. One central counselling, everybody who gets into the counselling will know MCC because that directs the entire process. That is one counselling.
They have All India Counselling.
Correct. Around 26,000 seats, 26,000 odd seats, 10,000 government seats, and the rest all other seats. BDS is also combined in that counselling. MBBS and BDS are combined in that counselling. Now, beyond that, we have around maybe around 90,000 seats, which are all either state government 85% seats or the complete list of state private seats. 100% the state has to allot. Correct? So, what is the counselling process for this? Every state has a different process of eligibility and different process of running the counselling too, and the number of rounds, the regulations, everything change across state. The state today has the process defined. Over the years, they change the process. Every state has a process. Eligibility is also possibly changed based on with time, etc. But each state has a process. So now there is one process which happens centrally. And then there are around 4140 counselling process which happens across all the states for 90,000 seats that we said. Right. So 26,000 here, another 90,000 odd seats over here. This has to happen one after the other, right? So that a candidate gets an option. A candidate might have an option in All India, one particular state, and unlike what many believe, many of the candidates that we speak to initially, they don't know this. Right. They might have options in 2-3 different states too.
Right. That is something that I wanted to ask. Is there any limitation on how many counselings they can attend?
No, there's no limitation on the number of counselings. So I think this is something that is actually possibly shared as something which creates a fear among the candidates, saying that you're not supposed to attend these many counselings, etc. As long as you are eligible for particular counselings, you can attend the counselling. So because in a state counselling, let us say, All India, everybody can attend, we know that. Right. So in a particular state counselling, let us say you are eligible through a particular rule, which says that you are eligible for this set of seats. In another counselling, you might have a different rule which gives you eligibility through a different factor. So basically different demographic thing, or you have worked there, your father has worked there, etc. So you will be eligible for the other state as well for that set of seats. A typical example would be somebody who is taking up government seats in one state. Right. Let us say a person is taking up government seats, he or she is eligible for government seats in a particular state. Okay. But they are looking for possibly NRI seats. They might be able to attend 5 different counselings for NRI seats in other states. They're looking at private seats. Many of the states have open seats. Every candidate across India can apply for those seats.
What do you mean by open seats?
Open seats are seats which are available for all candidates across India. Like I'm the state of Karnataka has many seats which are open seats. Every candidate across India can apply for those seats. So I have a Tamil Nadu government quota eligibility or I have a Maharashtra government quota eligibility. Still, I will be able to apply for the open seats in Karnataka.
Right.
Usually these are private seats only. No state gives government seats as open seats across. Usually these are private seats which are available for all candidates. Which means there are some seats which are of central nature too, existing in each of these state councillings. We'll have to go search for them and try to figure out if you're looking up for this private seats.
And this is something which a lot of candidates don't know about.
Correct.
There's open seats.
So because the first step they think is, one major thing that many candidates believe in is, or basically parents believe in this, I belong to this state and possibly I'll have my ward or child study something in this particular state. It might be a different state which is 60 kilometers away.
Right.
Providing excellent education, but they're not ready to move on to that state. Still in because they are very young, etc. and all, and there is always this perception that they should be nearby, etc. So they miss out a lot on exploring what are the best options available. When you take up an MBBS seat, obviously it is a career-related decision which is going to make a big difference. So missing out on such a state is obviously going to impact your career if it is going to be a good seat that you miss. They don't go through the entire process.
But there is also, like, if you think from a parent's perspective, there is also a comfort factor, right? So if someone is from one state, if they go to other state, they are concerned about the language. I'm not talking about at the college, that is different, but even going through the process, they are not very comfortable checking out other states, going through their eligibility. Is it complicated going through some other states' eligibility and documents and registering for this counseling?
It is complicated, I would say. It is not easy, but it can be made very simple. As in basically. So what it translates to is what you want. You have a rank. If it is very complicated, if you go to look at all the rules and regulations of other states.
Right.
But it is not, it is very simple when you're looking at your rank and trying to figure out what are the possibilities. I know my eligibility and trying to figure out all the possibilities. They miss out on that part is what I would say. The minimum that somebody should do, in my opinion, is, let us say I'm doing it for my daughter on looking at the possibilities. The minimum thing that I should do possibly is, I have put in 4 years of effort for getting into NEET UG.
Right.
This is a career-based decision. The minimum is to try to explore whether something is possible and then take a balanced decision. I'm going to send my daughter over there. Is the usual question. Should I send her there? Should I send my son there? That comes in later. First, explore the possibility. Even if you want, visit the place and try to figure out if there are some people from your state who are there.
Right.
If there is a comfort level, then you decide based on that.
Right.
On whether you want to take that option or not. Decision will still rest with you even after understanding the process, correct? But if you miss out the process, that possibly is a big miss out there. So that is something that we clearly advise the candidate, saying at least know what it is, what are the options. If you want, you can still have a feedback and then take a call.
Right. So, so from a parent's perspective, a lot of them go to these individual counselors who are inside the state. And those people, they also might not have that broad level of understanding. Or they might, like me, they would go to their neighbor and take a decision, right? So that is again
the biggest issue that we face, as in biggest, I would not say issue, the biggest set of clarifications that we need to provide when we discuss with some candidate or student is those provided by the neighbor. Like, you Google when you go to a doctor, the Google for education is basically your neighbor and somebody who is studying, who might have a fair idea, who might have done it 30 years back for their daughter, 20 years back for their daughter. That is the biggest issue that we face. And it is, I would say it is also something that is possibly has resulted in many candidates taking wrong decisions. So we know of candidates who go to the neighbor who is very limited in information and take decisions basis what their inputs are. So that possibly is something which is which is very difficult. But when you go to a counselor, you will have a slightly better information. Obviously, they belong to a particular state, they will have slightly better information. But still, even when they come into ZyNerd, they will have comprehensive information, etc. They can call us up. And the primary thing for an individual is taking decisions on their own. When they are taking decisions on their own, two things. One, they're looking at a rule, regulation, etc. For everyone, it is not easy to go through the rule and regulation. But when you tell them there is a rule or a regulation, they can always question you on where did you get this? Or give me some inputs on this. That question, if it comes up, that itself is enough. You don't need to search for it. Second part is, when you trust a counselor, you can still trust them in terms of information that is provided to you. But decisions, it is always better that you take the decisions. That is something that is very important as well, in our opinion. So we play a role when we do this. We always give them maximum information. But then when they ask us to fill the choices, we would have given all the information. But please, you fill the choices because you know your factors better. We can give you the factors, but you take your decision. When you go to a counselor and somebody tells you that I'll give you the choice list, you fill it. There's no other query. Obviously, you know that is not the right approach to the entire thing. You need to be comprehensive. You need to tell them why this institute is good, and every information needs to be provided. So that level of, for something that you put in an effort for 4 years, you have 3 months to decide. Put in full effort during those 3 months.
So you're saying we need to be actively involved in those decision-making process.
Correct. So like for your engineering, if let us say you would after your engineering, how much time did you put in? As in?
No, zero. So we just like directly went to the counseling and...
Correct. So let us say, have you ever felt that if you had put in some time?
Definitely.
So during that period,
that stays with you for your whole life. Like, okay, if I could go back and change that.
Correct. And this, for someone who's put in 4 years into UG exam, or probably right from the beginning, they've been planning for a medicine seat. After the exam, they get a sense of relief, and they think they can manage with whatever information they have. Wherever you are, but whether you go through a counselor, you do it yourself. Those 4 or 5 months is also very critical, is what they need to have. If they are able to get maximum information during that period from any source, that will help them a lot. That is very critical.
So you have been guiding PG candidates, right? Does this come up a lot in the conversation of, oh, I did my UG there, I could have done it somewhere else?
Definitely. The difference here is that the decision maker. The decision maker is different when it comes to PG and UG. So, for instance, if you look at UG, primarily the decision makers are parents in consultation with students. Now, possibly we are seeing a slight change in trends, but definitely even today, most of the decisions are taken by the parents. Now, when it comes to PG, the candidate really, the student really gets to understand that I did my UG over here, but possibly in many cases, my decision was driven with some lack of information. For PG, I would like to ensure that that does not happen again. And at that point in time, they would be deciding on their own. Specialty makes a difference, but even in terms of colleges, what they want, the environment that they want, they will have a better understanding of what are the factors in a medical college that I need to look at, and also in terms of what will fit me. So both decisions are there, and at PG level, we see that there is a better, they understand the need for this entire evaluation process of every institute better.
Right. And you had said that attending multiple counseling it's actually good. You will get the best seat possible. And generally in PG, how does it work? How many counselings do they attend? Just for understanding.
Usually it is 2. Most of the candidates is 2, one All India, one state counselling. But you have at least a 20%, 25% of candidates across India who will attend other counsellings, because private seats are huge anyways. And there are a lot of open seats, like we said, everybody can take those seats. And since specialty makes a huge difference in PG, you would have at least 20-25% of candidates attending more than 2 counsellings. We have seen candidates, you will be very surprised to say that when the round 1 allotments happen, All India, round 1 allotments happen, and then the state allotments happen. We have a tool called allotment mapping in ZyNerd, where since NEET came in, you have the rank of every candidate available with you, correct?
Right.
So whenever there is an allotment, you will be able to pull out information saying what this candidate's entire history of allotments is. This is available in public, not that we are getting data from anywhere. It is available in public. Everybody can do that. We do it through a tool, and you'll be surprised to see that after the first round of All India and 30 state counselings are over,
Right.
one candidate would have got an allotment in 11. We still know the highest is 11 different allotments across different counselings.
Oh, okay.
So, an immediate query, what will be? The candidate is blocking all the seats, correct? 11 seats have been blocked by a candidate,
Correct.
correct? So, but what happens is the candidate will be able to join only one of those seats.
Correct.
And then those vacancies will come up in the second round and others will be able to opt for it.
Right.
The reason why the candidate does this is because the candidate has an uncertainty in terms of which seat will I get in each of these counselings. So he or she tries out every counselling,
Right.
and then over the next few rounds limits it to certain counselings because they know that this is the best approach. 11 is a huge number,
Yeah.
very rarely, but 4, 5 and all, there are a lot of candidates who are, who do that. At PG level, this is better because they understand the value of that attending multiple counselings and getting the best seat.
Right.
It does not impact today too because there are 3 rounds of counselling, the vacancies move over. But yes, there are some candidates who take wrong decisions and then keep blocking, which is again a process flaw as well. So,
Right. So we can probably get a bit more detail into this in our future sessions. So most candidates would go for All India and state.
correct.
Like 2 counselings is most candidates they would be attending, right?
In fact, in UG, some of them miss out the All India counselling.
Right. So is it okay to miss out? Or is it like a lot of candidates ask this question before the counselling? They'll be like, is All India compulsory to attend?
There is no compulsion to attend All India. It is not required as a process.
Right.
So All India process, some candidates, let us say I'm ranked 1 across the country. I'll get any seat I want, obviously, correct?
Right.
If I'm ranked 1. I attend All India counselling, I'll get the best seat there. I go to my state and attend the counselling, I get my best seat there. At that point, I'll be able to opt for 1.
Correct.
But let us say I'm ranked 400 across the country.
Right.
I might not get the best seats in All India, but my state might provide a better option. But still, that is not confirmed. It is not confirmed that my state only will provide me a better option. There might be a possibility for me to get a better seat in All India too, in case I get lucky. So depending upon your rank, you evaluate and then apply.
Right.
That is the right way to approach. But we always suggest there's no harm in applying for All India.
Right.
It is a very minimal amount. Whatever you have put in possibly for your entire education, this is possibly 0.0001% to apply for a counselling. Keeping your options open is always better. If there is a 1% chance of getting a better seat in All India counselling, why miss it out?
Right.
That should be the approach because there is a very, very minimal cost. You get your refunds of your security deposits, everything at a later point in time. So there is no reason to miss out a better option always. If you're 100% confident that I'll get in my state, then go ahead with your state. But that 100% confidence should be there.
Right.
We always question whether you're 100% confident.
I think it's probably because of a fear, and that is driven by a lack of information. Some of them might think, oh, if I get a seat in All India, I might miss out on the state seat.
Correct. That is a very good point because I didn't think about it. See, one part is they think that if I get a seat in some counselling, I will not be able to move on to other counselling. Even though we explain the process, but a lot of candidates have that fear. I go and get admitted there. Then I get a better seat in my state. I have to resign there, come back, and then get a better seat in state. That is an unnecessary thing to do. But again, after getting a seat in state, there's certain candidates after getting a seat in state, what do? They might have got their 4th choice.
Right.
They're comfortable with their 4th choice because they went ahead to the institute, they got admitted, they like the institute. Even though there are 3 better choices, they stop there itself without going to All India again. So those happen. We try to tell the candidate that it is a process. You continue with the process to get the best seat.
Right.
Sometimes we are not able to convince them to.
Right. So you recommend that candidates apply for both the counselling and go through the rounds also. Don't stop with round 1.
Correct. So basically, if you have taken a decision that these are the best seats, don't get contented with something which is lesser preferred or lesser.
Right.
Just because you can't take the next step, put in a little bit of additional effort is what we suggest. Very few candidates, but this really happens. I think of we recently had an example in a state. The best medical college is what some candidate could have gotten.
Okay.
But the first round, the candidate got a seat in a medical college, the 10th best medical college in his city. So this candidate did not move beyond that.
Okay.
But they still filled in their first choice as the best medical college.
Right.
After getting it in their city, they did not refuse to put in choices. They said, we'll settle down with this because both parents and candidate were also okay with that. They settled down. But if they had gotten in the first round itself, it would have been better for them. So these are some decisions they take. So
right.
But we know that it makes a difference because in terms of quality, how they come out, the peers, and in fact, the eligibility for certain PG courses, etc., all changes based on the medical college.
Right.
But
okay, so now we kind of understood what All India Counselling is, State Counselling is, but the structure of the counselling, is there any difference between All India and State in terms of the structure?
I didn't understand that. So when you say structure, what is that?
Structure meaning candidates have to register for it. And then you also mentioned about choice filling, and you'll have to go join the seat, right? So there is a structure to it.
Correct.
Is there any major difference in the structure of those councils?
Not a major difference, actually. It is a simple process. So one major factor that you need to consider is the eligibility of a candidate for a set of seats, correct?
Right.
So when you're looking at All India Counselling, everybody is eligible and it is domicile free. So, however, there is the concept of reservation. Correct. So when it comes to reservation, there are certain set of candidates who are eligible for minority quota. There are certain set of candidates who are eligible for community-based reservation, OBC, etc. So that needs to be checked. At All India level, currently there is no validation that happens.
Okay.
So during allotment, there is no validation that happens. Okay. So All India process is a pretty simple process. You go in, log in with your already existing exam credentials. So you have to return your exam, give the credentials, log in, register by paying a simple security deposit. It is a deposit to say that I'll fill in my choice. And in case I don't take that choice, I will not get that back. So that candidates fill in the right choices. So simply register, fill in your choices, get an allotment, get admitted. But in state counselings, you have an eligibility part, right?
Right.
For this particular state, only if I've done my schooling here, only if I am a native of this state, I am eligible. So prior to the counselling process, the registration also involves the process of validation of information.
Right.
So basically, you send across the documents to tell that you are eligible for this particular reservation, for this particular quota, for this particular state. So once you send across those documents, the counselling authority will validate. It takes a 15 days time.
Right.
Around 15 days it will take for most of the states, and then they come up with a list of candidates within that. Okay. For All India, there is one rank. Everybody is eligible. Already there is a NEET rank that is used. For states, there is a specific state rank put up. Among those people, whoever has applied, ranked 1, rank 2, rank 3 is listed out as based on the eligibility criteria.
The state rank is created after the candidates register.
Correct. After they register, after every validation is done, there is an opportunity given for them to correct everything.
Right.
And then whoever is eligible comes under state list. Correct. States might have one common list, as in basically all the candidates who have applied, this is your rank within all the common candidates. Then there are some minority seats. For these, you have a rank list. There are some seats which are specific to a particular institute. There is a rank list, etc. So that they come up with. So for All India, you use your All India rank. For state, you use your state rank.
Right.
Post that, the processes are same. Almost all states today have an online choice filling. So you fill your choices, you get an allotment, you get admitted going to the institute. So that is the basic process. Admissions happen immediately. After you get allotted, you have to go to the institute and get admitted.
Okay.
So in round 1, you get admitted and so on.
Right. So the stages, so these are the stages of the counselling. Can you once again tell us about the stages, like briefly? So they have to register?
First part is the registration process for any counselling.
Right.
Then you have a validation, and a rank list or a merit list is published by the state authority.
Right.
After that is published, you usually have a choice filling process.
Right.
You tell the state that these are the choices. How do you do that? There is a seat matrix published. The state says that these seats are available. Based on that, you look at the seats and then fill in choices. You will say, my first preference is this set.
Okay.
The second preference is this set of this institute. The third preference is this institute, etc. You go on. And then after you fill your choices, the state publishes an allotment list.
Right.
Saying this is the first round allotment list. This would give the list of candidates who are allotted rank 1 in the state.
Allotted as in, what does that mean?
Allotted an institute. So I have been allotted rank 1 from the state.
Right.
Has been allotted this particular medical college and this particular course, MBBS, let us say, or whatever the preference.
Right.
So MBBS, rank 2 has been allotted this course. Rank 3 did not participate in the counselling. So rank 4 has been allotted this course. And so on till the last rank. Whoever has been allotted will be part of the allotment list.
Right.
The next step is you get your allotment list, you download an allotment letter, pay the fee to the state or to the institute, and then get your admission process completed. That ensures that your seat is with you. I have my seat. So in the state counselling, this was the allotment, I have my seat, and that ends the counselling process for that particular round.
Right.
In the next round, if there is a better seat, you can still fill your choices for those better seats and move from round 1 institute to the round 2 institute. That is possible.
Right.
So even after you have got admitted, your course won't start. Your course starts usually after the round 2 only. So you will get admitted. When you say admission, just paying the fee, providing all your certificates, submitting all your certificates to the institute and completing the formalities at the institute. And then you go on to round 2, you get a better institute, take all the certificates, fee will be refunded, you will go back to the institute and then continue till upgradation.
Then there is again a complication of all India and state.
Yeah. Right. So you get a better seat in all India, you get relief from here, etc. So it is a process. It's like round 1 of all India, state round 1, round 2 of all India, state round 2, and round 3 of all India, state round 3.
Yeah, I think this is a complicated thing. We can probably delve deeper into all India and state, and
we can do that. We can clarify that.
And also how to come up with like strategy on how to managing this, right? And when you said the choice filling, so it is completely dependent on how the candidates fill choices, the allotment.
Correct.
Right? Correct. So if they make a mistake in how they fill the choices, then the desired college, they might not get the college.
Right. The mistakes might be of two forms. One is basically when you're filling in choices, you are not clear about a particular institute's name. There are multiple institutes with similar name, etc.
Okay.
You miss out on that part and mention a particular institute at the top. And as against another institute which was with a similar name, etc. This happens in all India because there are multiple institutes with the same names in all India.
And the fee structure will be different.
And that might not be a very good institute. That is your primary thing. And if you miss out that institute, whether you'll get it in the next round is also a big question. So that is one problem that happens. Second problem is you did not get your choice list properly done too. As in basically you filled it right, but you yourself did not evaluate the choices right. So you missed out a good seat, or you put in some institute which was not good in the top, etc. So those issues, but you should be very clear about the choice filling process. Basically, right at the beginning, if your choices are very clear, then it makes it the process is very smooth.
Right, and you were talking about the state rank, right? And last year there was inflation in the state rank. Like a lot of candidates got higher marks in the NEET exam, and there was an inflation in the, there was a difference, right? So if a candidate gets this mark, then in the previous year, they would have gotten a particular rank range. But if the let's say the NEET exam is easier, then the rank range changes. Correct, right? I think that was a bit confusing for a lot of candidates to understand.
Yeah, see, the first, there's a part which is from an exam perspective. So as the exam gets easier or difficult, your last year's correlation of marks is no longer relevant, right? Let us say this year exam has been very difficult.
Right.
So I scored 450 marks. And last year somebody had scored 450 marks when the exam was very easy.
Okay.
I will get a far better seat than that person, right? Because I have scored 450 now in a very difficult paper, correct? So correlating with marks may not be the right thing to do at all. But unfortunately, after the exams are over, we only have the marks.
Correct.
So everybody starts with their marks and then goes back at previous year, or there are multiple YouTube videos. Basically, this is one time when everybody will have fun with predictions. So multiple YouTube videos saying that 450 marks will translate to this rank.
Right.
They'll give a prediction based on what?
Based on marks, right? If you get 450, then this is your rank and this is the college.
You need to do an analysis on the marks, right? Based on what the difficulty level is, what you're trying to establish.
Correct.
it is very difficult to get that data. You're getting a sample, it is extremely difficult.
Correct.
So out of 10, one will get it right because they randomly got it right.
Correct.
So at that point, what happens is everybody believes that for my marks, this is something that you will get. What happened last year was the reverse. The paper was pretty easy and there were a lot of candidates who scored more.
Right.
So the expectation was that, like previous year, for 600 marks, I will get a far better seat like the previous year, 2023. But what it ended up was the ranks were so inflated that above 600, there were a lot of candidates, let us say.
Right.
So this resulted in a lot of heartbreaks. So primary thing is, once the marks are out, you might have an expectation, but always wait for the ranks. And throughout the counseling process, you possibly will have to go with ranks. Ranks is what will clearly tell you how many candidates are above you. You will get your ranks within a week after your marks, actually. You will get most of the ranks within a week or even prior to that. So during this period, without getting confused, just wait for your ranks. And once the ranks are out, either the All India rank or the state rank. State ranks will take some time, but All India rank will give you a clear reference point of how many are above you, and that is the right way to approach. So
right. And now all the students will be preparing for the exam, right? And I think a lot of parents would have started looking for the colleges, like what college to join, and which counselings to take up and all that. And what advice would you give to the parents now who are just starting out or who have already started but they don't have any idea? They might be asking their circles. What advice would you give them?
I'm not sure. First advice, because once the exams are over, a lot of parents we see are under huge pressure. Basically under huge pressure.
Correct.
The first advice, or rather advice, not an advice, but a suggestion that we will give is, yes, there have been expectations. A lot of expectations from your child. This is a passion, they wanted to do this, etc.
Right.
But let it not translate to something very drastic. So basically, there are a lot of cases that we see where parents put in pressure when the candidate comes out of the examination hall. They might not have done well. They tell their parents that they have done well, but they wait till that last date to for the results because the actual performance will come out, etc. That kind of pressure is something that should be avoided. Yes, there's another year, or there are other options available. So that is the first thing that I would suggest. I've seen a lot of them coming up with these issues, candidates coming up with these issues. Second is in terms of approaching the counseling. If you're approaching the counseling, whatever be the marks, whatever be the rank, there might be a possibility, explore that.
Right.
So your choice is between, one, taking a seat this year with that particular mark, opting for another seat next year based on a better performance, or opting for another option itself other than MBBS, BDS, or alternate options might be there. There are other Ayush options or even other career options. You can try out something this year at a very basic level, attend one counseling or two counselings and try to figure out what might be the options, what is the entire process. If you go through that, that will give you an idea of what the entire process is, and you will also come to know whether this is possible next year, should you take a decision, etc. And the next thing is possibly put in a lot of time. The exact time you put in for the examinations.
Correct.
Once the exam is over, 2 months later only the counseling will start. Exam results will come in after 1 month and counseling will start 1 month later. So May is the exams now. May 4th, I think. May 4th, right? So possibly by July is when the counselings will start. Right from May itself, start looking for information. And try to get feedback as much as possible. There are also candidates, you'll be surprised. Let us say there is one state has 25 medical colleges. They see that 5-6 medical colleges are really good in this state. And there's another state, there's a AIIMS possibility, etc. They travel across to all 10-15 institutions. Make it a holiday vacation. Only if it is affordable, obviously. But they travel across, go to the institutions and get information directly from candidates, look at the institutions, do a self-review and then take a decision. It is not necessary that exact same cutoff ranks based institutes are what will fit you or what are right for you. So you might as well take that effort and time for a good big career decision that you're going to make.
And that advice is very important, right? when we help candidates, we also tell them, please visit the colleges, look at the colleges, see if you will be able to fit into it and all that.
Right. Even if you're not able to visit,
Right.
many will not be able to visit. I think many of them might not have the time, might not be able to do that otherwise too.
Yeah.
You just will need to get a reference. Get a reference from someone who is in that college. Talk to them. So we have had candidates who first time graduates who come into MBBS. So we support them. So when we talk to them, they say that I don't have any references, etc. But they talk to their teachers. There are seniors who would have gone from similar institutes. They need coaching classes, government coaching classes. They try to figure out somebody who is similar to them, who goes into a particular institute to get the exact information that will give them a perception of the environment. Similarly, if you're looking at a deemed university, it will give you a perception of the environment if you're looking at a deemed university, whether there is the academics is really good, environment is really good, what are the facilities that are available. So a whole lot of factors come into play. At least talking to someone, as against going with even our feedback, saying that this is a good institute, etc. If you're talking to someone, you possibly will have your queries answered better. So that is what we suggest.
Right. And so talking to candidates and getting that reference is very important, right? That's number one. And in terms of online resources, guidance, if let's say if they don't have access to anyone, right, then they'll have to come online. But the problem is once they come online, they go to YouTube, there are like 1,000 videos which say, okay, this college is very good, or this is, there is so much information, it's very overwhelming. So what would you recommend? I think more of what you shouldn't do when you go online if for searching for information. What would you?
So first thing that comes to my mind is what some of these sensational videos. See, the first thing is when you're looking at a YouTube video, the purpose behind the video is very, very relevant.
Right.
If you're able to figure out someone who actually really helps, and that is the intention behind every session that is being conducted, that helps. But if it is more towards views, etc., that you will be able to figure out. So those videos are something we definitely need to avoid. During the process, one has to be very, very clear in mind in taking decisions. So if you're going to have a sensational video daily and there is a lot of issues, there is problems everywhere, everybody is creating a problem kind of videos throughout your 2-month thing, your decisions will not be smooth. And you will not get the right information too. You will go back to those videos, keep watching those videos which are sensational, and you will justify your decisions based on that, etc.
Right.
As against that, if you're able to pick up a few people who are very clear, very, very limit their information to what you want, putting it in the right way to you, that is really good. And second, go with the right data. There are a lot of misinformation too on YouTube channels, etc.
Right.
So always question the information yourself, go with rules and regulations, check in all the brochures, etc. and then take a call. You can possibly look at 1 or 2 YouTube videos. Our YouTube videos are also pretty straightforward, saying what information is required, and beyond that we don't add on anything to that. So some of those, there are very good YouTubers who provide information, guidance on this. So stick to them and not go with anything sensational. And also through the process, keep your mind very clear without clutter of this, what is happening outside kind of a negative environment is what.
Right. And is there any official sources where candidates can look at data in terms of colleges, cutoffs? Is that available?
Cutoff official sources, I am not sure whether official sources are available. You will have the allotment lists in every portal. So you might be able to go back to most of the state councillings in all India where the complete list of allotments will be available. You might have the fee structures as notifications. Let us say there is one counselling, there will be 60 different notifications. All these might be available somewhere as raw data somewhere.
Right.
But you need to translate it and take your time, translate it into proper information. And even if you look at YouTube videos, you will have to translate it, check whether every information is, every YouTube video you will see somebody commenting saying that this information is not right, valid, this has been updated. So looking at updates continuously, etc., that is a challenge actually. So so some of these might be consolidated in some areas like platforms like us, but definitely it is available online, but not in the format that we want.
Right. And you have specifically said that every single seat goes through the counseling process.
Right.
Right. So you cannot get a seat outside. You cannot directly go to a college and get a seat. Correct?
Yeah. So yes is what I would say.
Okay.
I would want to say yes. That is how it is as per process.
Right.
That is what I want. I would say.
And,
See, here the thing is, in 2022, every process, as per the Supreme Court order, every process was supposed to be conducted online. So which means earlier deemed university seats, after 2 rounds, 3 rounds, in case somebody does not join the seat, deemed universities or private institute seats, if in case somebody does not join the seat, then that goes to the college for the final round.
Right.
So the college has a set of seats in the final round which they can allot to any candidate, supposed to be as per merit among those who apply.
Right.
But there is a possibility of a deviation there because that is a process which is not conducted by the authority.
Correct.
That used to happen. Now that does not happen. That is very clear. That does not happen at all. No seat goes back to the college. Every allotment across every state, including government, private, deemed universities, the allotment happens only through an online counselling process.
Right.
Very rarely 1 or 2 states are still to implement the last round offline online process.
Correct.
But most of the states, almost 99% of states, they do an online counselling process. Some issues might be there, like blocking seats, taking a seat towards the last round to ensure that the lower ranked candidate gets that seat, etc., which is a very difficult thing to manage, but still NMC is acting on it when it comes to know.
Right.
But very possibly if it was a huge number earlier, now it has come down to very small percentage. So if you're approaching an institute and institute assures you that I'll get you the seat for sure,
Right.
first thing that is not
and
possible.
It can even be a third person, right?
Correct.
Someone approaches
Yeah, right.
you. There are possible
Agents.
scams that could happen.
So basically they call them agents, basically. They approach institutes. The lot of people who get calls from once the NEET is over, somehow you go to a coaching center, your number will be available. They pick up all the numbers that are available. They keep calling you saying, okay, there'll be a lot of people under pressure at that point in time, knowing I might or might not get a seat in private too, etc.
Right.
So they call them up, basically try to swindle them off, saying that I'll be able to get you a seat in this particular institute. We have direct connect, etc. and all. Everything is an online process.
Right.
It suggests no one to fall for that.
Right.
At least you connect to the institute will tell you that this is the process. There is no online process, there is no direct admission. You go them and confront them saying there is no direct admission. How can you confirm that this seat will be available for me?
Right.
They will tell you. As an ethical practice too, you are not supposed to do that. But at least because of the pressure, don't fall for that, because for such kind of any such promises saying that they'll be able to get you.
Right. Okay, I think that is a good place to close. I think in our future episodes, we can cover in depth on each topic. I think there are a lot of topics which candidates want to know, parents want to know. And if there are any topics like that, they can like drop a message. They can drop a comment in our video and we can discuss that.
There's a lot to discuss and it is a very vast area. We'll definitely do.
Come up. Okay, thank you. I think we can close the session.